In a quiet town nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers, there lived a boy named Arjun. His days flowed with the gentle, predictable rhythm of school, chores, and evening games beneath the banyan trees. To outsiders, Arjun was like every other boy in the village, curious, mischievous at times, but always polite. Yet within him stirred a restless energy, a longing for something greater, something that went beyond the boundaries of his small world. Arjun's father, a humble schoolteacher, often told him, "The greatest strength you can ever possess is not of the body, but of the mind. Learn to control your thoughts, and you'll master your destiny." These words, spoken quietly in the flickering glow of the lantern each night, echoed in Arjun's mind, but their meaning remained elusive. One summer afternoon, as the village napped in the heavy heat, Arjun found himself wandering along the riverbank, lost in thought. He stumbled upon something half buried in the sand, a glimmering coin, far larger and shinier than any he had ever seen. His heart leapt. With trembling hands, he brushed away the sand and examined it. Engraved on one side was an unfamiliar symbol, and on the other, an inscription in a language he could not read. The coin felt heavy in his palm, as if it carried the weight of a secret. Arjun's mind raced with possibilities. He could keep the coin, perhaps trade it for sweets or new shoes, or he could show it to his parents, or even to the village elders. But as he stood there, a battle began within him, a quiet struggle between desire and honesty. His first thought was selfish. After all, he had found the coin, hadn't he? But then he remembered his father's stories about honesty, about the importance of doing what was right, even when no one was watching. Still, the temptation gnawed at him. The coin was so beautiful, so rare. Surely it was a sign of good fortune meant for him. Arjun closed his eyes and took a deep breath, recalling his father's advice about the mind. He realized that the decision he made now would not simply affect what happened with the coin. It would shape the kind of person he would become. Would he let his desires control him, or would he master them? He turned and walked back toward the village square, the coin growing heavier with each step. The market was bustling with villagers selling fruits, spices, and handmade wares. In the center sat the village chief, an old man with wise eyes and a gentle smile. Arjun approached, his heart pounding. He held out the coin and explained where he had found it. The chief examined the coin closely, eyebrows knitting in concentration. Word spread quickly, and soon a small crowd gathered. After much discussion, an elderly woman stepped forward, tears brimming in her eyes. She explained that the coin belonged to her late husband, a merchant who had traveled distant lands. She had lost it months ago, and it was the last keepsake she had of him. The chief smiled at Arjun and said, "In returning this coin, you have shown honesty and respect. But more than that, you have proven that you can control your desires for the greater good." That day, Arjun learned an invaluable lesson. True strength lay not in giving in to temptation, but in mastering one's own thoughts and actions. He saw that honesty was not always the easiest path, but it was always the right one. As the days passed, Arjun noticed something changing within himself. Whenever he was faced with a choice, big or small, he paused and listened to the quiet voice inside, the one that reminded him of honesty, discipline, and the power of self-control. Whether it was resisting the urge to sneak an extra sweet before dinner, or choosing to study when his friends called him to play, Arjun practiced the art of controlling his mind. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Arjun sat beside his father. He spoke of the coin, of the struggle he had faced, and the decision he had made. His father listened patiently, then placed a gentle hand on Arjun's shoulder. "My son," he said, "the mind is like a wild horse, strong, spirited, and quick to run in any direction. But with patience and practice, you can learn to guide it. The choices you make, especially when no one is watching, are the true measure of your character. Honesty and discipline are not habits you are born with. They are muscles you strengthen, day by day, decision by decision." Arjun reflected on these words as he watched fireflies dance in the twilight. He understood now that every moment held an opportunity to choose, to let his impulses rule, or to shape himself into someone he could be proud of. As he grew older, the lessons of that summer stayed with him. In school, when tempted to copy from a friend's paper, he remembered the weight of the coin in his palm and chose integrity. When a neighbor's crops were threatened by a storm, he set aside his games to help, knowing that discipline meant doing what was right, even when it was difficult. Years later, Arjun became a teacher himself, sharing his story with his students. He told them that real power did not come from wealth or status, but from the courage to be honest and the discipline to do what was right. He encouraged them to practice self-control, to choose honesty even when it seemed no one would notice. Through his example, the village flourished. Children grew into adults who valued truth and responsibility, who understood that the greatest victories began within. Arjun's story became a lesson passed down from generation to generation, a reminder that the power to shape our lives lies not in the world around us, but within our own minds. And so, in a little town by the river, honesty and discipline became more than just words. They became a way of life, thanks to one boy's decision to control his mind, and the ripple of goodness that grew from a single honest act.